When talk of civil war reached the world of academia, which by this time had virtually enveloped the young Professor Chamberlain, Lawrence felt no ambiguity whatsoever about the Union needing support by all those willing and able to resist the Confederate uprising. And while the events of 1861, the bombardment of Fort Sumter and President Lincoln's call for volunteers, had very little direct effect on the college, word of the Union's many defeats brought increasing concern for Lawrence. While Lawrence strongly disapproved of slavery on moral and religious grounds, his bigger consternation was the secession, the betrayal of the Southern states, which had first pledged themselves to a unified government, but now threatened to break that concord in favor of individual rights, which he saw as a threat to not just the laws of man, but the laws of God. On several occasions, Professor Chamberlain spoke openly of his beliefs concerning the war, urging students to follow their hearts regarding the conflict, but unwavering in his own proclamation that he believed the cause was just. Of Bowdoin's approximately 1,200-member student body, 290 would ultimately serve in the Union Army. Expressing his obligation to serve the Union in the war, Chamberlain wrote to Maine's Governor Israel Washburn, Jr., saying, "I fear this war, so costly of blood and treasure, will not cease until men of the North are willing to leave good positions and sacrifice the dearest personal interest to rescue our country from desolation and defend the national existence against treachery." The Bowdoin faculty tried to convince him that his true duty and obligation lay in the education of young men who represented the American future, and that he should help preserve life instead of destroy it, Lawrence's conviction to the Union struggle only continued to increase. The 20th Maine. When Confederate forces attacked Fort Sumter in South Carolina on April 12, 1861, Professor Lawrence Joshua Chamberlain was a highly successful and popular teacher at Bowdoin College, and having no formal military training to speak of and a promising future in academics ahead of him, it seems unlikely that his first impulse would be to abandon his family and career to join a fight upon which he could logically have no great impact. Yet that is precisely what he chose to do. During the spring academic term of 1862, Professor Chamberlain sent off a letter to the governor of Maine offering his services to the Union Army. Upon discovering his plan, several of his professional colleagues forwarded notes to the governor in an effort to derail his intentions, asserting that the frail Professor Chamberlain would never amount to much of a leader and was, quite frankly, unfit to command. In August of 1862, Professor Chamberlain tentatively accepted a 2-year leave of absence from teaching, ostensibly to study languages in Europe at Bowdoin's expense. Instead, to the dismay of his family and colleagues, Chamberlain traveled to Augusta, Maine to see Governor Washburn. With Washburn's Adjutant General John L. Hodgson under constant pressure from President Lincoln to raise troops, Washburn immediately offered Chamberlain the rank of colonel of the 20th Maine Regiment under the command of Colonel Adelbert Ames. Stating that he preferred to start at a subordinate position, but one in which he could master the art of command in war, on August 8, 1862, the governor commissioned him lieutenant colonel of the new 20th Regiment Infantry, Maine Volunteers. Lawrence's younger brother Thomas was also an officer of the 20th Maine, and with that, Lieutenant Colonel Lawrence Joshua Chamberlain was sent to Camp Mason at Portland, Maine.